This presentation is going to walk through the process that the English 1 team took in order to develop our performance assessment for our freshmen. This project requires all English 1 students to write a multi-paragraph, multi-page analytical essay that responds to our essential question. The essay must include the following elements. Number 1, it must meet proficiency for all domains of the analysis rubric, which includes a clear, well-developed argument that makes a relevant claim and that is supported by the best textual evidence. This evidence not only supports the argument, but also shows us that their argument is well developed and that they understood the connection between the text. The essay will comprise of 3 examples from the literature that we've read this year. 2 of those examples will have to come from class, and the 3rd example will come from a book they chose for their outside reading. The paper itself must be typed and formatted in the MLA style, and the reason we have them do this is to give them a taste of what it's going to be like to write papers in their English classes in college. For most teachers, it seems like the crafting of the essential question is the hardest part. For the English 1 team, we use the AP Literature test for the basis of our question. This allowed us not only to make sure that our project was rigorous and aligned to a higher level test, but it also allowed us to zoom in on that theme of tragedy that was broad enough for the entire year, but also a theme that we could break down into individual units. So our question is, why are some lessons only learned after the ultimate tragedy has occurred? After we crafted the essential question, we really had to go back and think about what the writing process would be like for our students. So we had a few goals in mind. We wanted our students to be able to review the literature from the entire year and choose the pieces that really spoke to them. Then we wanted them to be able to craft a thesis statement that not only answered the essential question, but really was the backbone to the entire paper. And the 3rd thing is we wanted them to choose the best possible evidence from their pieces of literature. Evidence that not only would show their understanding of the text, but again support that thesis statement in answering the essential question. And then the last thing is we wanted to put them through a rigorous revision process. All of these things are going to be practiced throughout the year and to really give those kids the confidence that they need to write the best possible paper they can for their presentation in April. After we thought through the writing process itself, the next thing to do was to think about the year-long connection. So essentially, how would our essential question be woven into the rest of our curriculum? And so this slide just provides an example of what that would look like with the first 6 weeks essay prompt and then the 2 short answer responses. Each short answer response will build towards the essay, and the essay will be what we use to scaffold towards that performance assessment. So each time they're writing, they're practicing those skills that they'll ultimately use on that analytical essay in the spring. As freshman teachers, it was really important to us that this project truly reflected that our freshmen are in fact ready to go to those upper division courses. And we feel that our project responds to that concern in 2 ways. The first way is the fact that our prompt is pulled from the English Literature AP test, which is a very rigorous test that the state recognizes a passing score as college ready. And the second thing is that our project asks our freshmen to draw connections from multiple works of literature, which is a skill not only for higher level courses, but also in college. And it's a skill that I won't say all the freshmen, but we like to think that most of the freshmen in the district are not doing in their freshman year. For the English 1 team, the calendar is something that we cannot live without in our planning process. This slide shows you just a rough breakdown of what that calendar would look like. So we know that our performance assessment hard due date is April 2017. And so we start thinking about those essential questions for each unit, and bullet point A, B, and C are examples of that. So thinking about that ultimate tragedy, these 3 essential questions will guide our students that first semester so they can answer that question. We schedule out dates for our interim assessments, when our unit will start and stop, exactly what TEKS we're going to cover each day, and so we have the STAR test that we still have to plan for, and the TEKS not only help us plan for that STAR test, but also help us gauge whether or not our performance assessment is aligned with our curriculum. And so if we're covering all of the TEKS that we're supposed to every day, then it kind of kills two birds with one stone. We write our driving question in our short answer response questions for that day, and so it might not be a different question every day, but every week, every different part of the story, we have those small essential questions that will help build towards the ultimate performance assessment. And then this year, I started calendaring out the warm-ups and the grammar activities on our calendar to make sure that those grammatical elements will show up not only on their interim assessments, but also on their performance assessments in April. After we set our timeline, we thought about what leadership skills our project would be addressing. So the first one is that this project definitely asks our students to think critically. They're required to choose the best possible examples for their paper. They have to craft a thesis. There's so many things going on that will push them out of their normal way of thinking. The second is that they're truly going to have to collaborate productively. They do that in providing feedback with each other, going through the revision process, asking each other for help with the examples. It's kind of amazing to watch them collaborate in this project. And lastly, it's going to push them to communicate effectively and persuasively. So not only are they going to have to stand up and communicate effectively during their presentation, but they're also going to have to communicate effectively in convincing us that their example and their argument really was the best possible way they could go when writing this paper. Okay, and finally, we thought about these deeper learning questions that would really push our students to think beyond this project. And so the 5 that we have here, we feel as English 1 teachers that any teacher in the building could ask these questions and push our students to think deeper about their project. From thesis statements to connections to thinking beyond tragedy, we really hope that these deeper learning questions will help.